I think that one of the things that's changed is, for us, is a look to the waterfront. And I think this is true throughout the city. There's sort of been re-embracing it. And one of the best things that's happened has been taking back the waterfront, and to a certain extent on Staten Island, taking it back from what Robert Moses' vision was. And it was really accepting that his concept was really dead and gone and was never appropriate. And so with actually the political leadership here, regardless of the party, they really made a difference. So now you can walk the miles and miles and miles of boardwalk and beaches, and we have fishing piers, and we have pavilions out on the water, and it's really extraordinary. At the same time, we had a horrible housing bubble, and we on the island suffered an enormous loss of historic homes, large family homes on quarter-acre sites that now have 6 houses on them. I mean, it's really egregious what happened, and it was the zoning allowed it. And you know, the architects and the contractors, they're just in there with the eyes glowing and the money flowing back and forth. No one said halt until enough citizens just were so outraged that the politicians listened. You know, after enough people had made a lot of money, finally somebody listened. It got so bad on Staten Island that when they were building these little row houses, a car, the driveway for the car, when the car was parked in its driveway as close as it could get to the garage, it was covering the sidewalk. So you'd have to walk around the car into the street. Now that really, I think that finally it was too much. And I think the number of beautiful homes that were lost, things that are included in historic records of New York City in terms of like books of beautiful homes and houses and historic structures, so many are gone. That you know, how many does it take to finally like realize what's happened? I think it's an ongoing problem, and that you have to look at it from both points of view, because you can preserve a building until it demolishes itself, and then you have a landmarked wreck like we have at Seaview Colony up in the middle of the island, or you can decide to invest in the preservation of a building. We need to be more flexible. I mean, if the goal is to preserve the best that we have in each era, then the Landmarks Preservation Commission has to work with the goals of who we're serving, what are the clients, and what is the population. So, I mean, I don't think it's an easy answer. I don't think save everything. I don't think it's demolish everything. So, I live in an old house, of course, which I am preserving. So. I don't think being a star in your moment, in your lifetime, necessitates or means that the architecture will be good, because you become a star for a variety of reasons. And a building can be like a sculpture and have amazing visual impact, and at the same time be very poorly serve its mission. So I think, I'm a public program person, so I really feel that excellence in service of the program is more important than whether or not the architect has a signature on the building. However, I also believe the building should sing visually, and that when you walk into the building, you should know where you are and where you're going. I really object to buildings that are confusing organically, physically, because I think that is, I think it's sort of against who we are as human beings, as wayfinders, pathfinders, is knowing where you are at a given moment. And you'll notice when you're in a lot of really old buildings, old courthouses and civic buildings, you always know where you are in that building, but you're still overwhelmed by the power that it represents. But sometimes you're in a new building and it seems organized in a way that's meant to defy your expectations. So defying expectations for the user is a fun thing to do, as a fun thing, but does it have, it's going to eventually drive people to hate the building they're in and then not be part of the team that votes to keep it when its day comes closer to its demise. So, and I think if you don't have to be a star to be a great architect. Really, I don't believe that. I really only have a direct experience with my project where they've been extremely supportive and wanting the best design. And whenever there was a glitch in the path of working with the architects or working with design, DDC, the administration, through my commissioner, through Kate, and my deputy commissioner, Tim Thayer, they've been very, very supportive, and they listen, and they seem to me to be in alignment with the idea of serving the public. So I think that's the driver with his administration. The Plan NYC is a guide, a tool to use when you're thinking. I think there's going to be many years before we know how effective it is. We just used it in an interchange about some landscaping we have to do here, and we actually referenced that plan to advocate for part of the design, like ramping up the quality of the design, and the DDC landscape architect in an emails between them and Parks Department use Plan NYC to help bring everybody on board about why these choices were being made. So that's when you have a rubric like the Plan NYC, it gives you a reference to bring at least a common dialogue. Even if you don't agree, at least you can argue around a point that's written down. So I think that's a good thing. I think his belief in design excellence is admirable, whether or not with the bureaucratic forces and unions and civil servants and eccentric personalities of developers and community activists, whether or not you can actually get there. I think that only happens actually with dogged persistence on the part of at least one or two people who are leading a project. So at the end of the day, it's usually, it doesn't happen because of what the city has said or doesn't say. It doesn't happen except because somebody wants it to happen and who cares deeply enough. There is no magical, loving mommy, daddy out there that's going to do the right thing for us all. We are the masters of our own fate. And we all have to learn that. I don't care if you're getting a lot of money or a little bit. The only people who are really lucky are extremely wealthy people who own the piece of land and there's no problems. And nobody cares, so maybe. So I don't know if I answered that. Is he responsible for cheese? I think he's doing what he can do within the purview of being the mayor to try to set standards that help the rest of us. All right, I think that, well, this is, throw it out there. I think the city needs to have a better method for listening to the citizens. I mean, if you don't make the city more livable, then what is the point? It's going to be for only a few, the very wealthy and the very poor. I mean, case in point is transportation. Staten Island suffers some of the most appalling transportation alternatives. But because we don't have but 3 votes in city council, therefore it's not an issue? I mean, you'd write off 500,000 people, so who cares? So is it about votes? It's not about what is considered to be livable? I mean, that's ridiculous. And the MTA, I mean, come on. If you don't make it easy to move around and get to work and do what you need to do, then you've just like lowered us another level below the other major cities. So what do you want? Do you want to be a major city or do you not want to be a major city? So if the problem is the cost, then you have to do whatever it has to do to really identify what we're doing and what we've been done for decades that's created this situation. I don't know if it's, I'm not party to their audited financial statements, so I couldn't tell you what the liabilities are for the MTA, but it seems counterintuitive to keep raising the rates and to raise the rates on students, to have them start paying so maybe they will not go to school. I mean, don't you want an educated populace? Don't you do everything? So that's nuts to me. So that's listening to the citizens and making the city livable through good design, through transportation, and through affordability. Again, it's what do you want? It's not do a little affordable here and let the developers have what they want here and then do a little, it's like you have to step back and decide what does the city look like that's a healthy, happy city. And I think you need many more opportunities for people to be engaged in community. So maybe that's what the mayor had in mind with those plazas. I mean, maybe that's what a green market is. So if that's the case, why are we, if the art vendors bring people to a place where there's a sense of community being created, why would you stop that activity? Marketplaces are thriving and they're busy and they bring noise and garbage with them maybe. But a live marketplace, people run into each other, they meet with each other, they talk to each other, they got ideas and they build community. If you don't build community, you're just living in isolated pods. So how do you take a big city like New York and make it more community-based? I mean, that's one of the advantages of living on Staten Island is that you know everybody and you have direct access to all your politicians. Well, the one thing, I mean, right from where I'm sitting right now, we'll see on the island is that we'll see that we took our waterfront back and that we lost a lot of ground to developers. We've lost a lot of historic value, a huge amount, but at the same time we did get our waterfront. So, and I think that we have some better buildings being built, larger buildings, more civic, and then there's a lot of historic preservation, restoration going on from groups, but we're all struggling in the context of the recession, so it's as much as it can be, but so, 25 years from now, we're already regretting the loss of the homes. Well, I think we have to decide who the city's for. You're a lot younger than me. I had the great good fortune of living in Greenwich Village when my rent was $210 a month and electricity was $14 a month. I had a loft in Soho. I paid $200 a month. Con Edison said I didn't have any gas service, so therefore they wouldn't take my check. And again, I paid $14 a month to Con Edison. I was a sculptor and a printmaker. I could work 3 days a week at the 92nd Street Y teaching art to preschoolers and take time off in the summer. So you could be an artist in New York City. You could be an intellectual. You could bring value to your community. And now you have to struggle to pay the rent. So instead of putting energy into making something new happen and improving the lives of others, you have to struggle to figure out how you're going to pay that ridiculously high rent. So where did all the money go? Who owns everything that they charge so much that we all have to pay? Because it's not the same as it was in the 70s. And really, totally not. But I don't find that the city is investing in the people who can contribute. So that's pretty sad to say. And the people who come here who have great resources for whatever reason are typically not the people who are at the grassroots level making new things happen. They may be people who've already made things happen and now they're reaping the benefits of their hard work. Kudos to them. But where does the next round come from? Where are they? Where are the artists, the new artists coming from? Where are the singers and songwriters coming from?